Wow. Good morning, everybody. My name is Janene Cummings. You know what? Let's just go ahead and lift our heart in praise. Early in the morning, when I rise, I lift my hands in praise because I'm alive. And late at night, when I lay down, I lift my heart in praise for the love I found. And I sing, ooh, 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 for the love I found. Let's do it again. Early in the morning, when I rise, I lift my hands in praise because I'm alive. Oh, it feels good. Late at night, when I lay down, I lift my heart in praise for the love I found. And I sing, ooh, 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 for the love I found, for the love I found, for the love we found.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Olympia's online streaming service. It's a pleasure to be with you today. You know, at Unity, we honor all faith traditions and all paths to God. Please join me in prayer. Sweet Spirit, we open our hearts, our minds, every cell of our bodies to the awareness of your power and presence, truly living and moving and having your being in us, through us, around us, in all of life. We affirm today that the ideas of love, the ideas of peace, the divine ideas that are made worthy and sacred in our minds and in our hearts, in all the expressions of our lives, are ideas coming straight from that divine essence that is the truth of our beings. We open more and more, letting our imagination run wild with the peace of God moving in us and through us. And we call that forth in our brothers and sisters around the world, in our country, in our neighborhoods, and in our homes. We invite our imaginations to run wild with the idea of peace, love, community. We're so grateful for the powers of divine ideas that God plants, that angels plant, that guides plant within our hearts, our minds. And we, in prayer, commit to living the idea of God into the world. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. And so it is. Amen.
Oh man, that was beautiful. All right. Let's sow some seeds of belief in who we are, in our courage, in our strength, and in our abilities. I believe in my courage. I believe in my strength. I believe in my abilities. I believe in my dreams. I do believe in me. Oh, I release and I let go. I forgive myself for ever hanging on to my strength. I believe in my abilities. I believe in my dreams. I do believe in me. Oh, I release and I let go. I forgive myself forever hanging on to anything but love, anything but love, anything but love.
Me too. I commit to hanging on to love as a primary tool for my life. Here's how we're going to begin today. We're going to begin with another little ditty that you all know. So join in. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. I know you know it. Oh, come on. You can sing with me next time we sing it. You know, we've been working this month with the 4 agreements, except that there's another one. There's a 5th agreement. And so I got the latest book. This is by Don Miguel Ruiz and Don Jose Ruiz, his son. Many of you are familiar with the 4 agreements. Last week, our licensed Unity teacher, Audrey Pitchford, talked about the 1st agreement, be impeccable with your word. This week, I'm going to talk about the 2nd agreement, but I want to begin by focusing on the premise. The premise is that we are making agreements in our culture that we're not even aware of. We make agreements about who we are and about how the world is based on the information that we've received since childhood and about who we are from the people around us. And Don Miguel and Don Jose suggest that according to Toltec wisdom teachings that have been taught down through generations, that this really is something that we need to become aware of as a dream. That these agreements, the cultural agreements that we carry, are not fact. They are, in fact, made up. So he says, imagine looking into a mirror. Inside the mirror is a whole world of objects. But you know what you see is just a reflection of what is real. What you see inside the mirror is just an image of reality. It's a dream. You know, we think it's the truth, what we're thinking in our heads, but actually it's just a reflection of the truth. A tree is a tree, and sure enough, we see a tree out there. But when we see a tree in our minds, that's not a tree in our minds. It's a reflection of what we've seen out in the world. And so this is foundational to the teachings about these agreements. You know, when we're not aware of the tendency to believe everything that we think, then we have a tendency to make stuff up, to make things personal. And that takes us to our 2nd agreement, which is not to take anything personally. Because really and truly, life is but a dream, and you and I, we're the dreamers. So not taking anything personally means recognizing that, that the world out there isn't necessarily all about us. And that people's reactions and people's statements, even when they say you are, you have, you've done, that may not be about us at all. One of my favorite teachings that I've talked about before, and I want you to hear really clearly, comes from Marshall Rosenberg, the teacher of nonviolent communication. Well, he's the creator of nonviolent communication. He imagined this world where people would be able to speak with one another in ways that are loving, that are understanding and compassionate, that start with empathy first. And in his many suggestions is this one tool that is just fabulous. It's this tool that says, whenever I recognize that I'm being triggered, that I think something is being about me, I raise my hand. In my imagination, not in the real world, in my imagination, I raise my hand. And on the back of the hand, I see these words that say, it's not about me. And on the front of the hand, I say these words, tell me more. It's moving into curiosity. It's letting our imagination say, wait a minute, just because I've landed on an answer in my mind doesn't make it fact. I can be open to what other information I can gather. Because taking things personally, I don't know about you, but for me, taking things personally is often a way to conflict, or here's the opposite end, an overblown ego. Now, I believe that it's important to have a healthy ego, a strong ego, but an overblown ego also could create all sorts of trouble for me and for other people. Okay, maybe you've never had that happen. You know, when I think about not taking things personally and examples of that in the world, my favorite story from the Bible comes to mind. It's the story of Joseph. You know, if you think about movies, if you like movies or books or stories of any sort, one of the things that you have to notice, and that you probably already have noticed, is that a really good story includes conflict. It includes the trouble, the problems that come up, and then how the hero of the story faces that conflict and overcomes it. For me, this story of Joseph in Genesis is the penultimate story of conflict and overcoming. You know, Joseph was the baby of the family. He was his daddy's favorite. He was the unexpected child. All of his brothers were incredibly jealous of him, and mostly by his own doing, because they took personally something that he said. Now, he was a boy of imagination, and so he had dreams. And here's what he said. This is in chapter 37, starting in verse 5. Once Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said to them, listen to this dream that I dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Suddenly, my sheaf rose and stood upright. Then your sheaves gathered round it and bowed down to my sheaf. His brothers said to him, are you indeed to reign over us? Are you indeed to have domination over us? So they hated him even more because of his dreams and his words. And he had another dream and told it to his brothers, saying, look, I've had another dream. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, what kind of dream is this that you have had? Shall we indeed come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow to the ground before you? So his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. His brothers took it personally. And the story goes that as time went by, that resentment in their hearts grew. One day, his father sent him out to find his brothers. They were supposed to be out tending the sheep, and so his father sent him out to find them and to work with them. And when he showed up, his brothers decided, you know what? We're tired of this guy. Let's kill him. And they dug a pit and threw him in the pit. And then one of the brothers said, yeah, let's not go that far. And there happened to be a caravan driving by, and that caravan was a merchant who took Joseph to sell him into slavery. Took him to Egypt, sold him to one of the Pharaoh's guards. And the Pharaoh's guard took him into his home, and Joseph did a really great job for the Pharaoh's guard. He became well trusted and liked, perhaps a little too well liked by the Pharaoh's guard's wife, who tried to seduce him. He refused her, and she was upset. And then she accused him of rape, and he ended up in prison. You know, this is like one thing after another after another. Now, what I want to call your attention to is that apparently Joseph didn't take any of this personally, because there's no mention in here about his anger. There's no mention about him feeling sorry for himself. There's no, I mean, just none of that shows up in the story. It's just all about what he does next. And what he does next in prison is he befriends one of the prison guards. And when the baker and the cupbearer, the Pharaoh's baker and cupbearer are sent to prison, he befriends them. When they have dreams and they don't know what they mean, he interprets their dreams for them. And when they're released and they go back to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh has a dream, they send the Pharaoh to this guy in prison, Joseph, who'd been sent into slavery by his brothers, had been accused of rape, who was wrongfully convicted, to Joseph so that he could interpret the Pharaoh's dream. And when he does that, then, of course, the Pharaoh sees the wisdom of that interpretation, brings him out of prison, and makes him his right-hand man. Again, Joseph's not taking anything personally. And we're going to see that in the last act of this story, especially clearly, because one of the dream interpretation that he offers to the Pharaoh is that there's going to be 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of lack. And so the Pharaoh, with this information, being a good leader, starts to store all of the country's grains and food so that the people will not go without. When the 7 years of lack comes around, the people of Egypt have enough. However, Joseph's brothers and his father and his mother and their people, they do not have enough, and they're going hungry. Joseph's brothers show up in Egypt and make a request that they can be part of that community so that they can eat. Joseph happens to be the person that they have to speak to. They don't recognize him. They don't know who he is. He knows who they are. And he says to them, yeah, go get your dad and come on back and let's talk about it some more. And so his brothers leave and they come back, and he says, finally, he says, don't you recognize me? And they don't. And he says, I am your brother Joseph, the one whom you sold into slavery, the one that you wanted to kill. And they apologized and they wanted forgiveness. They were still very, very personally wrapped up in what they had done at that point. Survival depended upon it. And Joseph said, you may have meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. He forgave them As a matter of fact, the way the story is told in the Hebrew scriptures, I'm not even sure that he was ever angry at them, that he ever took it personally at all. You know, this is a story that I think is a pretty high level example. I don't know that I could live up to that. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to confess right now, not me. I'd be working through it over and over again, and I'm guessing most of you would be too. But this is what it means to not take it personally, is always making the best of the situation. Always being open. You know, it's about practicing imagination. When we recognize that life is but a dream, then whatever comes up for us, we're willing to step into, well, and what's next? And what's next? We just keep on rowing our boat, staying buoyant, and say, well, what's next? You know, our affirmation for the entire month of June is my imagination brings possibilities to life. When we couple this idea of imagination with not taking things personally, then we're able to open, and once again, we return to this, it's not about me, tell me more. Now, whether you actually use those words in speaking to somebody else, or you just open your mind and you say, Divine Spirit, if this isn't about me, tell me more. And allow Spirit or your guides or your angels, whatever the medium for your spiritual connection for more information is, to show you what it is that it might mean. What that does for us is it allows us to release resentment. And now we know, I mean, there's studies about the brain that show once we're able to let go of one idea and grab onto another and grab onto another and grab onto another, our entire bodies have an experience of greater healing. Holding on to one idea. Well, and we've seen this in our country right now, you know, that one idea is getting us in trouble over and over. Being able to open, it means letting the mind of God plant ideas in us that allow us to be of greater community, of greater service, to have a greater experience of empathy and love in the world. Now, I love this particular teaching. Don't take it personally. Don't take anything personally. Because even when the other person, even if someone should say to you, it's all about you and you did it, it's really their perception of their dream too. This tool, this is a tool, is one of the tools that allows us to move into a greater experience of emotional maturity. And in an experience of greater emotional maturity, what happens is we have a greater experience of spiritual living. And that's what it's all about. You know, my hope for you and for me is that each of us move into greater and greater experiences of living the presence of the divine in every moment. So this time, sing with me. You ready? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Namaste.
Well, that has me so lit up. That was beautiful. Let's invite joy on top of all of that inspiration. Let's invite some joy. I invite joy, joy, joy. And I invite peace, within, and I invite love, pure love, to come home again. Come home to me, joy, joy, joy. And I invite peace within, and I invite love, pure love, to come home again. Come home to me, joy, joy, joy. I invite peace within, and I invite love, pure love, to come home again. Let's do it one more time. Joy, joy, joy. And I invite peace within, and I invite love, pure love, to come home again. Come home to me.
Let's take this opportunity to move into a time of meditation that we might more deeply learn to embrace this idea of not taking things personally. I invite you to relax more deeply into your seat, your chair, your couch, wherever you are. And close your eyes if that's comfortable. If not, allow your eyes to focus on one point that they might rest. And let's bring our attention to the body, this sacred vessel. We begin with our feet, coming to an awareness of where they are, the temperature of the skin, of how they feel, the tops and bottoms. Let us continue this attention up the legs, past the knees and the thighs, to the lower torso, the low back and the belly. We find that the belly is tight. Let it soften. And see how the low back just rests automatically with the belly made soft. Bringing the attention up to the rib cage, the shoulder blades and the chest. Noticing fabrics against the skin. And the shoulders themselves, allow them to drop a little if they will. Continuing down the arms and to these miraculous hands. We bless these hands. We're so grateful for all that they do to bring about love, peace, joy, sustenance. And we bring the attention back up to the neck, and the head, and to the breath. As our breath flows easily and gently, we recognize that this is the breath that relaxes the entire body, that quickens when we are in fear. But in this moment, we are safe, grounded, resting in the proverbial arms of the divine. Home in our heart space. And so the breath is easy and gentle. In this space, we recognize that this is the life of our dreams, that this awareness of peace within is always available. Please allow these words to be your own. I am the dream of God. I am open and receptive to divine ideas of love. I am open and receptive to divine ideas of peace. I intentionally engage my imagination for a lovely world inside my own mind, that it reflects back the beauty surrounding me, the faith that is within me, and the love that is the source of life itself. My imagination is a gift that makes my dreams come true. My imagination is a gift that makes my dreams come true. I invite you to be with that statement for a moment in the silence. My imagination brings possibilities to life, possibilities beyond any reflections of the world, beyond any mirror that I might be holding up. I'm open and receptive to the good being made manifest in me, through me, even as me, and all around me, through the divine gift of imagination. Thank you, Spirit. My life is but a dream. And so it is.
I invite joy, joy, joy. I invite peace within. And I invite love, pure love, to come home again. Come home to me, joy, joy, joy. And I invite peace within. And I invite love, pure love, to come home again. Come home to me, joy, joy, joy. And I invite peace within. And I invite love, pure love, to come home again. Come home to me.
Thanks, Janene. And thank you for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to be with you. You know what, Unity of Olympia, we are just thrilled to be part of your spiritual life. My prayer for you is that that's an expanding, growing life, and that you recognize that the divine is always with you. Hey, let's close with prayer. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Hey, friends, if you've enjoyed today's service, or if you believe that it can benefit anyone you know, please do share it. And if you'd like to support Unity of Olympia's ministry, you can certainly donate online through the donate button, or you can mail us a check. Hey, you know what? Life is but a dream. Namaste.